Welcome to you all. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the 31st Areopa webinar. Today we have to Areopa new speaker, Gabor from Hungary, and he will talk about virtual entities. Well, actually, a little bit different name, I guess. A topic for me which is also totally new, so I'm glad I'm the moderator again today. And of course, very welcome to Gabor. Gabor, I'll leave the introduction to yourself, to you. For me, remains a couple of things as always on, let's say, housekeeping rules. Put your question if you have them in the question window. I will pick them up. If they relate to what Gabor is, let's say, talking about, elaborating on at that moment, I will step in, and otherwise I'll save them for later. Your microphone is muted and will stay muted, so that's the only way you can put your question, by writing them in the question window. The recording will probably be on YouTube tonight already, so feel free to share that. If you haven't been subscribe to our newsletter, feel free to do that, and surely if you can promote it to anybody, do it. The bigger we get, the more I think support we have to the speakers, but also to get speakers. So say it out loud, tell it to others. We have on the program for the next couple of weeks, month, the next 3 sessions by André Baludin, Christoph Bialowas, and Tobias Fenster. There is one hole in between March 23 and now. There might be something planned there, but we'll keep you in the know. And of course, before I'm going to hand off, I would like to thank Ornaf, as always, to how they are sponsoring us by providing this platform. So for today, it's Gabor. Gabor, I'm going to make you presenter, and let's check if everything works fine. So you should be able to share your screen, and let me check if I see it, and then I will mute my microphone. Yeah, clear, nicely in view, and that's great. You can go.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everybody for this webinar. This is new for me, and I'm hoping this will be interesting for you guys. So today is about low coding applications in Business Central, and my perspective into how much this can help us as a partner and maybe us as a customer or our customers. So let me just go through. So I tried to get some pictures a little bit more fresh of me when I found this. So I have a 3-year-old, and apparently this is me taking him around. But I'm being an old guy, so I've been around in the industry for quite some years. I worked with SAP for 10 years in a multinational. Then eventually I got into a Navision project in 2018, and that's how I got stuck into this this industry. And I did one project and another, and so on. And so I've been working with my company pith for 13 years. I've been an MVP once, and I'm very keen on sharing stuff, and I'm very keen on also teaching. So I'm also an MCT, and I hold a number of courses. Recently, MB 800 preparation courses. Some of you might have seen me, but I do some other courses, .NET development and whatnot. So that's pretty much me. So let me go to, I guess, the agenda. So I guess I'm just going to take you through, I guess, the introduction of what the topic is. Then we'll go through in a demo into what you need to set up, what your options, and I'm gonna take you through some live demo. Hopefully everything will work fine to how you can use the local link platform in your I have some extra at the end of the presentation, and I'm sorry if I'm breaking up a little bit, but apparently power just went away 2 minutes ago, so it was all really funny to put everything together with mobile internet and whatnot. So hopefully you can still hear me. So let me just tell you why you need to bother about this. And so I tried to put this in a perspective as to like why this is a priority for you as a partner. Why is it a priority for you as a Business Central developer or a consultant? So as far as I'm concerned, I do projects for this number of years, and normally it's very difficult to get what the customer wants. We don't get it for the first time. I don't know about you, but we don't, and either because we don't understand them, or they don't understand them, or they don't know what they really want. So there are a number of situations where the customers say, this is not what we want, we would rather want to come back with a different angle. So I think you need to better about this, how you can get your customers more involved. You want to give more control to the customer, and then you come in and do your work. Also, my colleagues are saying that they don't necessarily want to get into the tedious cleaning up of the customer requirements when they're constantly changing. They would rather want to focus on value-added stuff. So let's have the customer, it's around, and then we'll do our work. And I've heard this from a number of colleagues of mine, that they really are keen to do the value-added stuff. Also, Microsoft is pushing us into this direction, and there are a number of reasons for this. I'm sure in your country, Microsoft is running this offer to bring a lot of customers on the cloud, and they say this is good for them. I think we all know it's going to come, either we like it or not. If Microsoft says we need to follow that rule, and also Microsoft is reasonably good in this sector. So I think we wouldn't want to miss out on this opportunity. And that's what Gartner say. Gartner said that in 5 years, within every enterprise company, there will be at least 2 low-coding applications. And you can see it on the right side that actually Microsoft is within the leaders with the Power Apps or DataVerse, if you will. So that's what I'm saying. I think you need to get on this route, otherwise you'll be left behind. I think this is something very difficult to formulate for partners that have no understanding why they need to convert customers to the cloud. And I think one of it is obviously you don't want to miss out on the cloud, but there's this whole word of integrations, easy applications, which the customer will want it anyhow, and you don't want to waste time on it. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So I think that's what really is setting the stage for us. And so I just tried to put together typical scenarios where this stuff can be used, and we've seen this before. Just recently, we see some upscale that we see some key users that are motivated and they click together some applications, and we've seen some leave approvals or special price approvals, and all comes down to some nice applications that they can click together, and then we can just put in our bits. So I think the users can they are taking this opportunity, so you don't want to miss this. But for us, I think the opportunity is to set some foundation. So maybe we create Business Central integrations, we let them run around, and then we put in the next complex bit. So you don't need to be worry about this. I think it's an opportunity. Also, we look at it as a cross channel or cross sales, if you will. So we try to do some add-ons for ourselves that we can sell to the customer, or we can give it to the customer, which obviously is a competitive advantage to other partners. We can give, let's say, a leave approval system to the customer, and then they can customize it for their own. They surely will want to take this opportunity. And we also use this low-coding platform to kind of level out the load, because this is something that not necessarily requires developers, and normally in a company you have a limited developers, and maybe some more consultants. So you can split the work up. And I don't know about you, but we can manage the workload about this to put some implementations out of Business Central and move it in the cloud, where we can, like I said, lay the foundations, my consultants, and then the customer can take it away and build on that. So it is actually what we use to lower our workload. So what you really need for this, actually, I'm going to talk about virtual tables, if you will, for DataVerse, but there are other integration and synchronization opportunity. But in this case, I'm going to show you a very easy way to deal with this. And for this, you need Business Central SaaS version 17 onboards and Power Platform license. And what you can see, I put it on the slide, that for any user that is on the cloud, is going to receive the necessary licenses. So most likely your customers are getting this license already, right? So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. If you're if you're converting the customers onto the CSP EP offer, they would then get 3 years of free kind of trial space or free licenses for Power Platform. So yes, you want to take this opportunity because you have it already, or your customers have it. So what you need to do is, and I'm going to take you through this, is you need to get into low coding, you need to get into Power Apps, and we will need to create a DataVerse environment. And this used to be called CDS. Previously, before it was used to be called Dynamics 365 Sales-ish. So sometimes you will see some reference to DataVerse, sometimes you'll see CDS, but we call CDS at the moment DataVerse. So you'll need to create a new environment for this that will be matching your Business Central environment. So for one Business Central environment, for one Business Central service, you need to create a DataVerse environment. And I put in what you will need to do. So you'll need to create a new environment. You'll need to select the type depending on what you have on your licensing. What you need to ensure is you create this environment in the matching environment of Business Central, obviously for data, for network bandwidth or speed. And you also need to ensure that you create this environment. And again, you can only do this if you have Power Platform licenses. And once you click through, then you'll need to just configure the language. You need to give it a unique URL, and you need to give it a currency that is matching the base currency of your Business Central, because there's a whole currency conversion in CDS, or I'm sorry, DataVerse. And so it has to match the base currency of your Business Central tenant, right? So in this case, I'm going to do a demo in the US environment. And so my BC is also in USD, so as my DataVerse environment. So once you've done the housekeeping, then you will need to install this component that I'm talking about called Business Central Virtual Tables. And yes, in the URL, you see this is called Business Central Virtual Entity because this also had been renamed. Previously, we used to call them entities. Now we call them tables. It's probably just making more sense to rename them every so often. I cannot get my head wrapped around it. Anyhow, once you've done this, then you will have something that you can build on. And I try to visualize this before I get into some demo. So you have Business Central SaaS environment right here, and then you have the DataVerse environment right here. When you install Business Central Virtual Tables extension, then you will not have a synchronization in place. You will see in the following follow-up webinars, in the following webinar, some synchronization stuff. And previously we had some tools to do coupling CRM records with Business Central. This is not the same case. This is a live query. So there is no synchronization. There is OData calls or API calls in between the two environment, which has got some positive effects and some downsides as well, but it makes things very easy and easy to set up. So that's why we jumped on it, because it's very easy to get this running. And this is still in beta, but it's been stable enough so that we started to introduce this. So I guess your employees or key users will be working with CDS, but working with CDS, they will access data within Business Central. I think that's the key point here. So let me just go and show you the setup, and then we'll come back to some VSCode. So let me just go into my environment. And so in order to set up or get into Power Platform, you need to go to, first of all, to make.powerapps.com. That's the go-to place for the Power Platform. And this is where you have your existing environment, and this is where you will be working with your entities. And right here on the top, you can have some environments. And in order to set up a new environment, you will have to go into the admin center of the Power Platform, and you will need to create an environment here. And I will not go through on the full setup, but you come here, you select your environment, do a trial, you make sure you do this stuff, and then you get an environment like I did. Mine is a trial, and this is called PC Power. Okay, so I've done this before, so that we don't waste time. Depending on the load of the servers, it might take a minute, it might take a few minutes. So once you've done that, you can go back to mag.powerapps.com. That's where you will come, and then you select the newly created environment. You need to make sure that you're connected to that, and then you need to check you have some tables right here, which I do already. Now, if I wanted to install the extension, you just go to App Source, Virtual Entities, you select the Business Central virtual table, and then you get it now, and then you make sure you install it to the newly created environment. And again, I don't want to waste your time, so I've already done this. I already have this set up. In order to allow the low coding platform, the DataVerse, to speak with Business Central, I need to go back to Business Central, and I need to enable the communication. And for this, you need to come to Azure Active Directory Applications. You will have Dynamics 365 Business Central Virtual Entities, and you need to make sure this is enabled. If you don't do this, then the rest of them will not work. But I've done this already, so this actually links up my Power Platform, my DataVerse, with Business Central. So I've done this in the BC Power Sandbox instance, right? So I've done that before, and I have got all the plumbing. So now I can show you what this is capable of. And before we do that, let me walk you around in here. So similarly to Business Central, we have some tables in CDS or DataVerse. It's basically a database, a different database, and we store data here, and you can see here there are a number of tables already. Microsoft has actually created standard tables for a number of business models, and that's what you see them here. And once you installed the virtual tables entities, then all you have to do is set that up, right, in order to get some access to tables in the Business Central. So the way it works is you come here, and then you put in, first of all, you need to connect the instance up. So I go to Business Central Virtual Data Source Configuration. Again, right after you've done the setup in Business Central, you come here in DataVerse, and then you go into Data. And then you have one record here, and then you click on Edit Record, make sure you configure the environment name, and then once I typed in the environment name, my sandbox instance name, then what you have to do is just click refresh companies, and then you will get the visibility of all the companies in your tenant or your instance, if you will. And then I selected the default company that you can work with. And by default, this is going to work with this default company. You can work around it, but by default, you work with one company. Okay, so once you've done that, then you have another option to configure, which is the data sources. And this is where it's going to be interesting. So if you go into virtual data source configuration, that's another table that helps us to set up the connection of BC to DataVerse. Then if you click on data, I'm sorry, I managed to get the wrong table. So you need to go into available Business Central table, and that's where you go into data. And you will see a number of let's say tables that are available in your instance, right? And these and if you know what the API page is or the default APIs in Business Central, those are the things that you can see here. So in fact, I've already did a setup before, so there's some custom stuff here, but you see here the default APIs in Business Central, which means that I can, by default, I get access to these tables without for me to do anything, right? And so if you wanted to work with, for example, a bank account, what you have to do is you need to let's say if you want to work with this table in DataVerse, all you have to do is just you need to click this record, and then you mark it visible, and then you click save and close, and in the background, DataVerse will generate a virtual table that you can build your application on, right? So I've done this. I've done some setup, so I'm going to show you what I've done before so I can get into building my complaint management application. Okay, there we go. So what you can see here is I published already the item table, the sales invoice, and the sales invoice lines tables, as well as the customer. So in order to, if you want to see this is real Business Central data, you then go into the tables, and then you search for those tables, right? So you see here, for example, the customer has already been published for me, and it's got the prefix of Dynamics 365 BC customer V2 because it's referring to the V2 API from Business Central. And so if you click on this, you should see some familiar data, your BC data, right? And this is real-time API calls back to Business Central. Okay, so we could create a customer either from here, it's a two-way communication, or BC, and then it gets refreshed here, right? So we have the foundation here, and then actually let me jump ahead a little bit. So one might ask, how do you extend on this? And all you have to do is, if you wanted to publish other entities or tables from BC, is you need to create an API page, right? So if you want to publish some custom entities or entities that are not by default published, all you have to do is you need to create an API page, and this is hopefully familiar for you guys. If not, then go and look it up on docs.microsoft.com. But in this case, I just created an extension to create a table of docs, and then I obviously created a list and a cart page because we You have to see VSCode here, and then I just did an API page right here. And once I publish that extension to BC, the Power Apps or the DataVerse platform already recognize that, and then I can build an application on this. So let me go back to my slides, and then just let me walk you through what I'm going to be showing you. So let's say the customer wants to track complaint management, and we would like to track complaints in a system to flag posted sales invoices, mark them, which are the ones that are disputed. Why? What's the customer's issue with it? Is it damaged? Is it the wrong price or whatnot? Have we not received it? We would rather have an approval process, and it would be nice to gather some documents, pictures within Sharepoint to see the data that is related to the complaints. And it would be nice to have maybe some easy way to enter the customers the complaints and let them know where their complaints are. So it's actually quite a complex requirement, and I guess if you wanted to kind of estimate this in Business Central, this will be within days at least, especially if you want to do the wish list right there. And I think that's what will be interesting if you can do this maybe in 20 minutes or so. So let's just let me go back to Power Platform and just take you through what I will do. So just because we're going to track complaints, I was thinking that probably we need to create a table for tracking complaint headers and maybe complaint lines, so you can store data related to the lines itself, and also go through to header information. So in order to do that, I just come here in the data section, and I'll do the foundations, and I'll put together an application so you can see the whole shebang together, right? So first of all, you come here to the tables and you click new table. And this is a nice wizard way, so my consultants can easily use this functionality. If they use Dynamics 365 Sales or CRM, this is going to be very familiar with them, because it's the same engine in the background. So I'm going to say I need a complaint header. It's going to give me a table name. There's a solution, but you don't need to worry about it at the moment. And you can enable attachments. For example, I would be keen to use some attachments, but you could do some offline functionality, but let's just leave it there. So just warns me that once you enable attachments, you cannot undo it, right? And so it's still doing in the background, but I already have a table, so it's also saying me, but I can continue by adding some columns for the small complaint management scenario, right? So I'm going to need the customer for Business Central, right? And so let's just take the customer right here, and then I'm going to select the data type, which is really a lookup. So I think this is where you will feel this is how powerful this is. So I can just select the customer that I just brought over from Business Central by just clicking publish. Let me just try to find the customer. And then I can mark this field to required, for example, and just add that. And then I guess maybe I should be able to select the invoice that it's related to. So I'm going to add let's say the disputed invoice. Hopefully no typos there. And this is also going to be a lookup. And the related table is sales invoice, and hopefully I publish sales invoice. So I will be able to see this. In fact, let me just go back and just check if you have bank account already, because I already published bank account, right? So I don't see bank account yet. We'll double check this. Let's just select sales invoice. It takes a while until it actually renders it, but we should see at some point also the bank account available. So I just selected the sales invoice and just click add. And perhaps you can add a status on this. So there is something that is called the choices in this platform. I'm sorry, let's just make sure we save this. So let's just save this table. And then once this is saved, then I can go to my choices. And choices is something similar to enums or option swings. Jesus, I already forgot on the right type for this. But for those of you that are from the vision, this is like a predefined enumeration. Anyhow, I've already created a complaint type for this, so we can, let's say, we can mark the complaint type with incorrect price, missing quantity, damage. So we can add this on the top of the complaint, and this is like you see, it's predefined. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to find my complaint header, and I'm going to add a new column for complaint status. Sorry, complaint type. This is what we want. And then you need to select a choice type of column, and this would be my predefined complaint type right there. You can select the default value. If I'm normally having incorrect price or missing quantity, for example, or damage, then I can default this, or you can leave it. So hopefully you can see how quickly you can put this together, but the question is how this is going to work. So let me just save the table. So now I have a table, and then to get a feel maybe how this is going to work, let me just go and show you some other things here. So you can, the power of this platform is that you can put together a lot of things visually without doing coding or without using VSCode. So, sorry. The next building block is basically the views. The views are similar to Business Central. Is almost like a query, but you can define the columns and the criteria together. And there are some default ones that are generated automatically. So normally for each table you have the active view, and that's the public view. And if I just click on this, you will get a nice view designer. And if I want to add another column, let's say the complaint type and the customer, then by all means, let's just add it onto it, right? And so this is going to define the lists, how the user will see the list. And once I've done them, then I could click publish, but at the moment I don't need to worry about it. I just go back and define my views, and you can create your predefined views for different reasons. For example, by approval, approved, or different types, and then have the user selecting the necessary views. So once you've done the views, what you have to do is you need to configure the layout of the screen. So I have this very special screen, the default screen called the main form. I'm sorry if I confuse the terminology, and that will define how the screen is generated. And again, this is a bit refresher versus what we see in VSCode. I mean, I'm fairly okay to deal with the code, but some of my colleagues are not, obviously. And so you get what you get designer. So let me just add maybe a few fields here. And let's just grab the customer, maybe on the top. Boom. Maybe let's add the disputed invoice also. Now I could remove the name. I'm not going to get it because probably it's not relevant. Anyhow, let's just not touch that, and I maybe add just the complaint types. And you can also get in some layouts if you wanted, and you just define your screens this easily. Like, again, this is very refreshing. So I have defined my screens, and I have more forms rather, and I've defined my views, and I defined a table. This is actually work in progress. I know we're not done yet, but so that we just see, let me just rush this through. You need to create, in order to have the customer or the users to access this, because this is for Office 365 users or Microsoft 365 users who have a license. I need to create them an application. So I'm going to create them an application, and this is going to be a model-driven application. And let's just call this complaint management. And let's just, you could create a logo, you can give it a name, you can just make it nice. And what you have to do is, this is an application, this is an entry point for an application. It's like almost like a role center in Business Central, but you only see what you add on the menu. So we have a sitemap, a nice visual designer, you have a menu configuration. So let's say this is maybe you add here complaints, and hopefully you will get to understand what I'm trying to get at when you see it working. And then I add a menu item for complaint, and this is an entity. Well, this in here yet it's called entity, but it's a table in the other reference, and you can just select your complaint header. Let's just try to find this. Complaint header, there we go. I'm sorry. So I've just created a menu. Maybe we add another group for just, let's say, master data. So let's just, oh yeah. You need to have some error messages in the demo. So I'm just maybe add some master data here. And let's just add a sub area for customers, for example. And let's just select the customers, so the user will be able to see the customers as well. There we go. And then I need to publish this application, and this is going to hopefully publish everything. So once I've done this, I pretty much have created an application. I know it's not complete, but I need to rush it through for the time being. So let me just show you what I've created. So you have these applications that we can share with the users, and you can either edit or you can play. And at the moment, I cannot play because I need to make sure this is all published. So I need to click publish all customizations. I'm sure I'm reasonably quick, but hopefully you can follow me here. So once I'm publishing all the customizations, this is not just the application, but all the tables I've done, all the customizations and the views and the forms, and this will become available for allowing the users to enter data. So now we go back to here, and then we look at the complaint management, and I should be able to play this. Oh. Well, that's going to take a while until it comes back. So I guess we'll wait until it shows up, but let's just go back and maybe finish up a little bit this application. So I've created a complaint header at the moment. Maybe I just add the new table so that we can link the lines with the invoice lines. So let's just add the complaint lines. I'm sure by the end of it, I'll be able to show you the results. So this will be linked up with my complaint header. And then what I need to do is I need to link this complaint line to my complaint. So I need a complaint. And this will create a relationship between my complaint header and my complaint line. So let's just choose lookup in this case, and let's select my complaint header. And so by this, I have linked together the complaint lines with the complaint header, and maybe we just add this status right here as well. So I just add the new column for just to mark the same thing on the line level. So I'm going to select the choice for the complaint type. So you can mark whether the actual line is damaged or incorrect price. Hopefully you get the concept. I'm just going to leave that empty. And what I also need is an invoice line. So I need just an invoice line reference, right? And this will be lookup of that sales invoice line table, which I already published as well. Sales invoice line, there we go. So now I have kind of a base concept here. Probably just quickly customize the views, and then we get the whole thing together. I'm running out of time, so I need to be very quick. So we have complaint header, complaint. Let's just customize quickly the forms. So let's do the main form. I guess it was a bit aggressive to put everything all together in 30 minutes, but you'll see where I'm getting with it. So let's just put in, let's say, the complaint status here and the invoice line as well. Boom. And just customize quickly the view, and then we should be almost done. So I have active complaint lines, and then just at the same field so that it will make sense to the user what they're looking at on the line level. So I'm going to show the complaint invoice line and also the complaint status. So boom. So you click publish as well. And then I go back to my complaint header and just add the line so that we have a master detailed view. Hopefully you still follow me, and it is as exciting for you than it is for me. Complaint header. And what I have to do is, now that I have a relationship, all I have to do is just bring in those lines to my header. So what I would like to do is I can add a subgrid somewhere here, maybe right here. And then I need to select the related from the relations. So let's just click this. Just notice it takes a while until it reads up the related records. And there you go. I already have the complaint lines here. And the active complaint lines view will be shown. So now I have a master detail, and I will be able to enter also the complaints related to the complaint header, and all of them will come together with the invoice and the invoice line. So let's just name it for a more meaningful name, complaint lines. There we go. Just click publish right here. And then now the moment of truth should come when the application is going to be working. So let's see my complaint management here. Oh, well, maybe I'll just click here as well, and then just make sure I publish this. And there we go. Okay, so it takes a while until it recognizes that. So now, finally, I can show you an application that I just put together in roughly 20 minutes. So I have complaint headers and some navigation right here. So this is how the whole screen looks. You get the views that I just defined, similar to Business Central. And then here I have some complaints. Well, the area of complaints, and I have data from Business Central on the customers, real life API calls in the background. There you go. So you have customers from BC. Let me just create a new complaint. Let me just select my customer, maybe Elkhorn Airport. You can select the complaint type. You can select the disputed invoice. I've actually customized some of the views so that we can see some more data on the invoices, but there you see my favorite customer, Really Cloud, and this invoice. Probably need to give it a name, complaint for damaged goods. And once I click save, I should have the lines as well, right? So I can create new complaint lines. You can select the invoice line. I'm sorry, I needed to give it a name. Damaged. Now you can remove this field so that it will not bother you, but I didn't bother. And it's already given me the related invoice line. So in the background, it recognized the relationship between the invoice header and the invoice line. Now this is something, well, something obvious for you, but it has to be done. Well, DataVerse needs to recognize the relationships. Let me just put it this way, right? But it does recognize the relationship, and there you go. You can create a complaint from there. Oh, well, nothing fancy here. What I could do further is I could bring this into an approval, and I could bring this to maybe SharePoint. So maybe we just enable SharePoint for this, so that you get the feel of how this works. So SharePoint integration in DataVerse is out of the box, right? So all I have to do is configure my entities, and I'll configure the connection between SharePoint Online and DataVerse, which I've done already. So what I have to do is, I've saved this link already, is I need to go into the admin center, which I've already saved, and then I need to configure settings and select the entities where they are stored. And so I already have complaint header available in the entity, and I just allow them to store it in the complaint sites, which I previously created already. And it's going to be based on, it can be based on a contact entity or an account entity, which you can synchronize it, or you can leave it there as you wish. If I select this document management based on an account, a contact entity, you need to ensure that you also have a contact entity available for that record, which I don't have at the moment. So, moment of truth. And then what it will do is it will create complaint header folders in SharePoint. And now I will have VC data, their link data, and available data store in SharePoint. And then I know my time is running out, so maybe I'll just show you what I've done in.
Well, you have still some time, Gabor. Don't feel too rushed.
I know, but I still have some other things that I want to show. So just to show you what I have done, right here, I have a SharePoint document library, and this is bringing together VC data, the DataVerse, and also the SharePoint document folder, which is created in the background. And as you would imagine, working on a Word document is quite difficult in VC, but from here, complaint information is reasonably easy. So now I have Word editor here, nice rich edit feature, which you probably don't have in VC, or you need to work on this, right? So how about this? And again, what happens in the background is there is actually a folder where, maybe I can show you this as well. I have saved this link. So what happens is in the background, I configure this SharePoint site that is linked with my DataVerse. Is it created me document libraries or folders, if you will. Like you can see, I already created a complaint header, but this is at the moment meaningless because it doesn't have anything. But in my temporary complaint header, the system is creating, or DataVerse is creating, a folder for me for each complaint, for each contact, right? That's what you're seeing here. And then you can store here whatever you wish. You can upload photos, and this will be available right in DataVerse. So there you go. You have something out of the box, which is something that we need to work reasonably hard or pull in extensions in Business Central. And I just only clicked a few things, and then I have a document management system linked up to my complaint. So it's very quick. It's very neat. And I know I have only. Well, I guess I only have 5 minutes left, so maybe I'll just go and show you some other perspectives. So the approval is also very, very easy. There are a number of options. Oh, we have power back. Hopefully it doesn't disturb the demonstration. So in DataVerse, you can configure some approval flows, which I've done already, and you can have something that is called the business process flows. And I created a complaint approval flow. It's just going to be very basic, but I configured some stages where you need to get maybe the invoice. It takes through the user what they need to do in this process. So first they need to get through the initial stage. You just get her the invoice, and in the second stage, well, you need to get her the impacted amount and the status. So kind of like a very basic process flow, which I'd like to take through my user. It can go through an approval. It can initiate flows, and the neat thing about this is once you click through this business process flow, then this becomes available in a visual representation for the user. And so what you can see here is I have the initial stage and the next stage visually available, and the system is actually measuring in between the stage time. So almost like if you wanted to measure how long certain departments take or certain stages take in your departments, then you can put together this workflow and have the user be guided about what they need to do, right? So if I create a new complaint, and I'm sorry if I need to jump back to the previous demo that I prepared, but you get the idea that you just highlight certain key things for the user, and once you complete this, then you can go to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, and it not just measures it, but also visually nice and helps you to go through a stage. So that's also with a few click, you can just have the users entering the key fields. And I know I have a few moments left, so I guess I know, let me just go back, quickly jump back to here. So I know I haven't completed everything, but I think you kind of get the idea that with a few clicks, well, you can complete this. So I know I've spent maybe 30 minutes on this, but you get the idea. You probably spend another 30 minutes, and then you're done with the basic things. Than in BC at the moment. Now, one more thing before I pass back for questions is there's also something that is I think mind-blowing, and I want to highlight this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but with the Power Platform offering, we also get something that is called a Power Portal, right? And so I don't know about you, but we get a lot of questions about having a portal for the users, and we always did either brought in some extensions or we did some custom stuff. But hey, you get a portal bundled together with your offering, and so once you have the portal, then you can bring in, you can just show lists from CDS or DataVerse, and you can have the users see their own complaints or enter new complaints. This is also requiring a number of other tools. It's not as low coding, if you will, that what I've shown. It requires JavaScript, HTML, and the scripting language called Liquid. But there are some tutorials out there which help you to get started with this. How are we doing, Luc, on time?
Yeah, we're almost at the hour. I think you did fine. There are actually no questions, so in that sense, unless people that want to pose a question are going to pose the question right now. I have one question. Thank you very much, of course, and I like to get this overview. What I always wonder with the Power Apps is, and I'm totally, let's say, a version on this. Haven't been working with that on projects with customers, but the UI is somewhat, let's say, less sophisticated as the BC UI. Is there any gap that customers, end users also experience there, that this UI is, let's say, quite simple, a bit well, less sophisticated than BC Central? Is that an issue?
I'm trying to grasp the question here, but I think question number one is Power Platform UI is let's say less customizable than BC's.
It's a bit rudimentary. It's not as sophisticated. It's not as nice looking as BC. So if I need to skip as an end user from one to the other, it feels a bit to me like, well, whatever.
For me, it's not as I think it's you know, you either like it or not. But for me, it's reasonably obvious. But yes, you have one way of generating a UI than BC. You get your heads around it. I think it's very, very obvious, and I think this kind of trick about the business process flow, it is really helping the business users, and we had some very positive feedback from the customers. In fact, for CRM, we've been using this for a number of years, and the customers really, or the users are really like it. And
Okay.
and again, to answer the second one, I could add any custom feature here, like JavaScript, like a control add in VC. You could do the same thing here, also in the portal. The portal basically is open for any customizations with JavaScript, HTML, so you could do whatever UI you wanted to.
Clear. Thank you very much. Gabor, we're at the hour, so we're going to stop. Thank you very much once again. Thank you for everybody having been here. And before I'm going to close down for today, let me share my ending screen here. That should be the one here on the left side of me. Yeah. So thanks all for being here. You find all the links here. And I hope I'll get this on YouTube tonight. Gabor, before we end, thank you very much once again. And well, maybe next time.
Yes, more than happy. More than happy. Hopefully we'll get some questions on Twitter or other means.
Great. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.